has any kind of disorientation after that, they're going to be taken off the ice. And certainly we're all anxious to once again see Sid the Kid back on the ice. But Sid isn't the only player coming close to return, as Dan Bilesma told the press this week that Brooks Orpik will soon return to practice. And they are aiming at a return for Brooks at the very end of the regular season or possibly first round of the playoffs. Mike Comrie has been out since November 26th for that hip surgery, but he's been in full practice with the team and could be cleared to play soon. Eric Tangradi has reportedly been skating, and of course Aaron Asham made his return Monday. So a lot of big returns for the Penguins coming back off of injury. Certainly a plagued regular season as far as injuries go, but we might start to see some things look up for the Pens. All right, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll have the latest on the suspension of Matt Cook. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, and the hockey world is abuzz early this week over the suspension to Matt Cook and the NHL stepping up and tackling the issue of repeat offenders. Matt Cook was suspended for the remainder of the regular season and the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. First off, partner, what do you think of the length of this suspension?
I think it's definitely warranted. Ray Shero and Mario Lemieux sending a strong message that they're willing to punish the players of their own team and commit to the new NHL policy on headshots.
Absolutely, and anything that have come out of the Penguins locker room this week shows that they are in no way hypocritical. And this was Ray Shero's statement on the Matt Cook suspension. The suspension is warranted because that's exactly the kind of hit we're trying to remove from the game. Headshots have no place in hockey. We've told Matt in no uncertain terms that this kind of action is unacceptable and cannot happen. Headshots must be dealt with severely, and the Pittsburgh Penguins support the NHL in sending this very strong message. So that kind of goes to show that Mario Lemieux and Ray Shero and the Penguins organization in general is not hypocritical. They are willing to punish one of their own players. And actually, earlier this week, Matt Cook called an all-player meeting. No one is certain of what was said in there, but I'm assuming that Matt Cook may have been apologizing to his teammates for his actions on the ice. And this all goes back to the discussion we had last week with our analyst determining the factor of the track record when dealing with dishing out fines and suspensions. But also, partner, Matt Cook is a big part of the Pittsburgh PK. What do you think this loss means to the Pens?
Well, I felt that his loss directly was contributed by the penalty, the major penalty that he took, because they immediately scored 2 back-to-back goals during that period, and that put them up 3-1 in a game that was tied at 1 that we probably could have won. And I think Matt Cook realized that too. He issued a public apology, which makes him one of the only players who's been put in this situation that's actually issued an apology. So kudos to him for that.
Absolutely, and we hope to see him return to play after that first round of the playoffs, assuming the Penguins make it through. And hopefully this time he will have no more incidents. And we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Eastern Conference playoff race and the Penguins' power play struggles. All this and more when we return on the Iceberg. Welcome back to the Iceberg. I'm your host, Casey Stamp, along with my partner, Craig Smith. This time of year, certainly playoff races are always intense. Makes for some great hockey. The eyes of the hockey world mostly drawn to the Western Conference playoff race, but the Eastern Conference playoff race doing well as well. Great matchups there. The Penguins sit in 4th place in the East. The Surging Capitals taking no prisoners. They're now just behind Philly. Buffalo occupying that 8th and final playoff spot with teams like Carolina, Toronto, up until tonight the New Jersey Devils, hot on their trail. Partner, what do you make of the playoff race in the Eastern Conference this year?
It's especially rough this year with the Capitals looking like they might actually do something this season. Philadelphia, who's always tough. Penguins, which is good news, putting up strong numbers. Maple Leafs, physical again. And even New Jersey trying to sneak in.
Absolutely. And a little bit off topic here, the New Jersey Devils did lose tonight to the Boston Bruins 4-1. Do you think that ends their playoff hopes?
I think it casts a serious doubt on their viability as a Stanley Cup contender. Even if they were able to get into the playoffs, I think it raises a lot of doubts about how well they would actually do in the playoffs.
Absolutely, and they would pretty much need to win out here, and Buffalo would almost have to lose every game in the remainder of the regular season, so it's still possible, but improbable. Partner, of the teams in the playoff race right now, let's say the playoffs were to end today, who do you think Pittsburgh would match up the best with of the teams in the Eastern Conference?
Well, I think we have a very good shot at defeating Buffalo if we were to match up with Buffalo and or Toronto, because we've done pretty well in the Toronto games. Plus, that would make for an interesting matchup.
Absolutely. Who do you think would be the most dangerous team for the Penguins?
Definitely Philadelphia, based on our track record this season.
Absolutely, and that's a great rivalry there, state rivals. Well, one thing is for sure, when races heat up like the ones we're seeing this year, in both the Eastern and Western Conference, the stage is set for somebody to be a hero. Speaking of the playoffs, a big key to the Penguins' success in the playoffs is going to be their PK unit, but a larger issue that needs to be addressed is their power play. Partner, what do you think the Pens have got to do to fix this issue?
I like how Dan Bilesma has gone to the 4 forwards instead of the 2 defense and 3 forwards line to try and stimulate our offense, because it's resulted in scoring. And the 4 forwards line scored twice during the Red Wings game, which was notable.
Absolutely. Matt Cook gone for the rest of the regular season in the first round of the playoffs, and we saw the effect that it had on the PK in the game against the Wings and, of course, in the game against the Rangers. Is there a way to effectively replace a penalty killer like Matt Cook?
I think getting Goddard back, once we get Goddard back into the lineup, he's a very physical guy. Having Ashland back, who's a physical player, we'll need the physical guys to fulfill some of that role. Brooks Orpik is also a great penalty killer. We'll be getting him back. So we'll be able to fill some of the gaps, but not all of them.
Absolutely. And the Penguins are going to have to get creative to find a way around missing a key player in Matt Cook. All right, folks, we're going to take a short break here. And when we return, we're going to have some game prediction for you, and we'll be answering some fan emails. Stay tuned. All right, we're back, and our inductee this week into the Iceberg Hall of Fame is defenseman Paul Coffey, widely considered one of the greatest NHL defensemen to ever step on the ice. Paul Coffey played for the Pittsburgh Penguins from 1987 to 1992. Coffey ranks second all-time among NHL defensemen in career goals, assists, and points. His offensive skills and puck-moving abilities helped the Pittsburgh Penguins to their first Stanley Cup in 1991. And now on to game predictions. The Penguins will travel to the city of brotherly love Thursday to take on their state rivals, the Philadelphia Flyers, who are missing a key defenseman in Chris Pronger. The Penguins are 1-3 against the Flyers this year. Partner, how can the Penguins steal this one and move closer to taking a lead position in the division?
This is going to be a crucial game for us. This will tell exactly what we need to do, what we're good at, what we need to work on. Philly, they're relentless. They won't give up. They won't take no for an answer, and they're going to fight us tooth and nail until the very end of that game. So this will be a big telling factor.
Absolutely. And then on Friday, the Penguins will take on the New Jersey Devils, who, after tonight, may be out of the playoff race. May not be, but may. What can the Penguins do to steal the 2 points here and get the win over a team that so desperately right now needs it?
It's going to be a battle. We have 2 ex-Devils in our lineup, if you look. We have Mike Rupp and one other player from the Devils. I'm trying to remember who it is, but two players that played for the Devils that we have now in the modern Pens lineup, Rupp being one of them, and we know just how physical Mike Rupp is, so it's going to be a rough game.
Absolutely. The Penguins have a really tough schedule from here on in, but ultimately I think it'll work to their benefit having to play the harder competition going into the playoffs, because it'll season them for some really tough competition. All right, before we sign off here, we're going to take a couple of fan emails. This one comes to us from Andy from Pittsburgh, and his question is, what is your opinion of James Neal since he has been in Pittsburgh? Do you think his intangibles, besides scoring, make up for his lack of point production? Also, where do you see him playing when Sid comes back? Which line and with which line mates? Well, I think personally that Neal and Crosby automatically are going to go together in most fans' minds. I think that that's a big possibility. What do you think?